My goodness, this program sounds too good to be true.
Cross-Country program is giving military veterans information they need to start a second career online.
It's a program aimed at helping veterans find employment in Canada's tech sector.
A mobile kiosk rolled into Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu today outside the Royal Canadian Legion.
The Coding for Veterans caravan has stopped on base at C4V Petawawa, offering opportunities in the digital world for a life after the military.
Unfortunately, a lot of the very job-specific skill sets that I learned through the artillery weren't exactly going to be translatable into any kind of civilian career.
It was definitely a big question in my mind as to what I was going to do next.
He was an intelligence officer in the Air Force and came across a team called Coding for Veterans.
Through an immersive, online, self-paced learning program, gives those individuals the opportunity, the skills to work in software development, or cybersecurity.
My program is called the Cybersecurity Architect, which, to tell you the truth, sounds pretty good on a resume.
I'm an IT service support technician with the municipality of Stratford-Caradoc.
I think it would complement what I've done in my career as a military person.
Things like attention to detail, leadership, teamwork, it actually aligns perfectly with the soft skills of the best and the brightest in the tech industry.
The cybersecurity stuff for me was a great transition.
They went from serving on the battlefield to now serving in cyberspace.
Jeff Mutson is Executive Director of Coding for Veterans. He joins us now. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Leslie. We're actually up in Bagotville right now in Quebec.
The not-for-profit is in its third year of bringing troops from deployment to employment.
Corporal Adam Broughton has always been interested in the tech world. He's been stationed in North Bay for 3 years and is looking at possibly branching out for other opportunities after retirement.
And today, Dean, there's over 200,000 open jobs in job titles related to what we teach.
IT is growing faster and faster, and there are needs for specific skills.
These men and women that leave the forces, they have security clearances. And so those in the cybersecurity area that hire these individuals, that becomes an added bonus.
We actually have students that are being hired in the civilian industries before they're even fully complete their training.
We have a placement rate of 95% of people when they graduate from our program.
Amazing, considering many people who graduate entered the program with almost no background in IT.
We have banks, we have government agencies, all just literally lining up to interview the candidates in the program.
The nonprofit recently expanded eligibility to include Afghan interpreters.
And we've raised tuition to pay 100% of the cost in our program for interpreters that want to enroll and have a career in tech once they get to Canada.
So it's no cost to them at all?
No cost to them at all.
Getting here would be one thing. Finding your way to make a living here would be another thing. To help them find that way to be skilled to engage in a rewarding career for the rest of their lives.
Those interpreters, in the minds of men and women in our military, they've served.
He arrived in Canada just 2 months ago as a refugee and has applied to the Coding for Veterans program.
That's my dream. I want that to become true, to be involved maybe on a big project or on a big software, a software program.
Nothing would make us happier than to help support these Afghan interpreters that supported our mission over in Afghanistan.
This is a tremendous opportunity for those who have the interest, who have the aptitude, and have the motivation to find a new career.
And I think Coding for Veterans, it puts you in a group of your peers. These are all individuals that you already have something in common with.
Today, Musson was at the Toronto Stock Exchange ringing the bell to kick off the day's trading. A symbolic gesture to show companies the value of hiring a veteran.
It's really a way to promote an opportunity and an avenue for, businesses in Canada to understand the value that someone from the military can bring to their company.
Veterans who have served at least 6 years will have their tuition paid in full through Veterans Affairs, Canada's education and training benefit.
It is a great course, and it is very rewarding.
It's worked out really well.
Shelley Steeves, Global News, Moncton.
Natalie Kalana, CBC News, Toronto.
Jessica Nisnik, Global News.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News, Petawawa.
Kate Otterbein, XFM News.
Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
In Toronto, Erica Natividad, City News.
Rich Garten, CTV News.
Kayla Karim, Global News, Kingston.
Brian Vicknell, CTV News.
So, I'd like to welcome everyone here to the end of our Top Gun Cyber Week, as well as our graduation ceremony. We're streaming this event online with our YouTube channel and Facebook as well. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jeff Musson. I'm the Executive Director of Coding for Veterans. And it's been a tremendous week that we've had here. And it's been really great in which for us to, have our students meet face to face and collaborate and work as teams as it relates to hands-on learning with our program. And, I want to thank a number of people, the University of Ottawa and Sonia and her team for helping us with, with this week. In addition to, we had Toronto Metropolitan University join us as part of our Top Gun Cyber Week. In addition to CDW, one of our key industry partners as well. And for us, it's been really fascinating to see, the level and the engagement and really the cool things that came out of this weekend. So on behalf of Coding for Veterans, I wanted to welcome everyone. And I'd like to ask Alan McCafferty from the University of Ottawa to come up and give some greetings.
Thanks, Jeff, and welcome everyone. It was a real pleasure seeing everybody kind of pull it together this week. I've seen many of you in the classroom. I've heard your names before, and I've talked to Jeff about you, and I even have some past students here. And seeing you guys do some hands-on things this week was a real exciting thing for me to see and very exhilarating. So from the University of Ottawa, we're so happy that you're here. We're so happy with our partnership with Coding for Veterans. This has been going on for 3 years, about 3 years, and we've seen it only increase year over year. It started out as an idea. Jeff had that idea, and it's grown from that idea to what it is today. And we had this first week here today with the university. We expect to do more coming up, and we see the class sizes growing every year. I think you heard in the video a tremendous demand for the skills that you guys have developed over the last months, year, whatever the case may be. That demand is not going away. You guys are at the beginning of this, and we talk about new frontiers in space and other places. You guys are really in the new frontier of information and cybersecurity. With the introduction of AI, everything you're learning here today is going to accelerate. You're going to have exciting times, and I often tell clients that the new front line is no longer in the server room. It's right at the front desk, and everybody who's working on that network now needs to be involved in cybersecurity, and having the level of expertise that you guys have developed is something that is quite useful, quite employable, and it's going to be some real career opportunities for you. So on behalf of the University of Ottawa and the Professional Development Institute, thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you to TMU and CDW and the other speakers, and especially thank you to all of you guys for being here and hanging in there.
Awesome. Thanks. So, as you know, the week has sort of unfolded. Alan really kind of brought home the point. This was the first time that we've done this, and based on the feedback, it's definitely not going to be the last. And so we're going to be able to continue to grow on what we have built here together as a group. So, couple of things that I want to note. We have some certificates for each of those that have kind of made it to the last day here. Congratulations. It's been a tough slug, right? And so we will call you up and we will present each one of these to you. In addition to, Coding for Veterans is hosting CAF Appreciation Night on September 13th at the Athletico Ottawa Halifax soccer match at TD Bank Stadium. And so we actually have 2 tickets per person for you guys to attend on our, as a thank you for coming out. And it will be, yeah, exactly. And it'd be a great opportunity, again, kind of meeting up face to face and what have you. So for those that have made it to our last day, absolutely a thank you for that. In addition to, we had a competition yesterday, Capture the Flag event, and it was really well received. The teams were very close in terms of how they finished. However, there was one team, obviously, that was able to finish first. And so I'm going to call Sarah up, our academic director, to announce the winners and for you guys to come up. We have a little prize for you there. So, Sarah.
All right, so we're going to get started with the first place team. So the winners were Elena Vasquez and Sylvain Sylvestre. So if you can please come up.
You guys did it. For sure. Congratulations. For sure. Congratulations. Let me just proper photo here. Like a one-man band. Yeah. Here. Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Congratulations, guys. Go ahead. Microphone.
You'll come back in a minute.
Yep. All right. So we're going to call up the other participants. So we're going to start off with Marcin Jakovic.
Awesome. Congrats. And I'm going to ask the certificate recipients to stay up, and we will, have you kind of back here. So that all people can go ahead and stand there. Okay, next person.
Perfect. We have Nina Decker.
Congratulations.
We have Sue Lower. Okay, we have Adam Keeney. We have Robert Lemieux. Eric Edim. Elena Vasquez. I wanted to give you a break, so I called you last. And Sylvain Sylvestre. Go for it. Yeah. And finally, we have Mark Hearn.
So this is the successful cohort from our Coding for Veterans Top Gun Cyber Week. So give them all a round of applause.
Wide shut, everybody nice and tight together.
Yeah.
On it.
Squeeze in.
All right. Perfect. So we're good here. I'm gonna get one or two more. Beautiful. And I'm gonna get just a quick video shot because everybody's so awesome.
Our own personal paparazzi, you know?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
All right, here we go. And fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. Round of applause. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
But we'll do it online.
Yeah.
Online people first.
You want to intro them?
Yeah, you can intro them.
Okay, so I'll let everybody get their seats first. So now we're going to take the time to hand out certificates to a couple people we have online who completed the program. So we'll start off by introducing Juan Deos.
Hello.
Oh, yeah, he muted himself.
He muted himself.
That's okay.
Okay, anyway, one of our graduates will
We'll
give
give
a
a
round
clap.
of applause.
Good. That's what I figured. I think their audio is blocked.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have Matt Lattis. I'll give a round of applause because their audio is cut.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Matt, congratulations on graduating from the Coding for Veterans program, and I'm sure it was a lot of work. What was the best thing or what was the most inspiring thing that you learned in the program?
Can everyone hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think it was definitely the cybersecurity aspect to it. I had general knowledge and background in the networking portion, but once we got into the cybersecurity portion of the program, that's when I really fell in love with it. And I didn't let you guys know, but I recently received an offer for an IT security analyst position. So thanks to graduating the program, it allowed me to interview for security positions, and I was able to achieve that goal. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and our last online individual, we have William Chung. Oh. There we
There
go.
he is. Hey, William.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Oh, his audio too.
Oh, his audio's not working. I'd love to know where he is.
It's okay. Let's give him a round of applause, guys.
Yeah,
You can
let's
see us
give him a round
clapping.
of
You can see us
applause.
clapping.
Busy at work.
Okay. And we have 3 in-person individuals who we'd like to hand off certificates to. First, we have Andrew Usher.
Congratulations. Never smiled this long. Awesome. All right, thank you. Cool. I'll have you stand up here with that.
Okay, go take a- Next, we have Stephen Church.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Right here. Thank you. Cool.
And finally, we have Alex Mikhailov.
Congratulations. Zero, some more. Thank you. Cool. So why don't we come over here, guys, and we'll get one kind of group photo. All right. Nice and tight. Excellent. Look right here. All right. I'll make sure. I want 2 more here. Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. Congrats, guys.
I'll have this back over to you. Here you go.
Okay, so the real treat for today is we have a great speaker that will provide us some insight, lessons learned along the way, and really able to, who has been both in the shoes of someone in the military who then obviously successfully transitioned, and that's none other than Major General David Fraser. He's one of Canada's most accomplished leaders in both the public and private sector. Major General Fraser served over 31 years with the Canadian Forces with numerous operational tours around the world. He served in command at every rank, from lieutenant to major general, on operations commanding Canadian but multinational troops as well. David was Canada's first general officer to command American troops in combat since the Second World War, and as brigadier general, he led NATO's Operation Medusa in Afghanistan in September of 2006. He led the transition from the U.S. Operation Enduring Freedom to the NATO ISF coalition. Canada was entrusted as the lead nation for this operation and received many international accolades for the results, attesting to David's skill, diplomacy, and excellence. Upon return from Afghanistan, he became the commandant of the Canadian Forces College. And after retiring from the Canadian Forces, David joined the private sector, and he sits on numerous boards where he's been able to leverage his lifelong experience to the benefit of many. He currently works with BMO on their Canadian Defense Community Banking Program, which is actually how I first met him. We can also add author to his resume with his latest book called The Anticipant Organization, which he's actually brought copies for everyone today to have. So I thank you for that. And on a personal note, General Fraser has been a big supporter of our Coding for Veterans program. He is a mentor, a thought leader, and most importantly, my friend. So I want to introduce you to Major General David Fraser.
Thanks so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can everybody hear me? And can everybody hear me online? If you can't, just put up your hand or throw something at me. That works really well. First of all, Jeff, congratulations and thank you for everything that you do with Coding for Veterans. Absolutely indispensable. And to the University of Ottawa, thank you. Thank you for continuing to support organizations like Coding for Veterans and also providing a great educational institution. I'm a big believer in education, and without it, we are not firing at our best potential. And to each and every one of the graduates online and in front of me, nothing has changed. You're sitting all at the back of the room, okay? You know, it's nothing has changed. And but congratulations, first of all, on your military service. I'm proud of you. Congratulations on making the transition. And what lies ahead of you is going to be a wonderful new chapter of your life, and it's a journey, and it's going to carry on. And you are entering the workforce at a fascinating time. And so I want to talk today about two things: about your transition, and also about the environment that you're about to enter. So, I'm going to cover a couple of those things. And there's a book at the end of here that is there for you. And I'll stick around and answer any questions you may have on the book because it kind of explains what you're going to be going into. Next slide. Okay, next slide. So let's talk about the environment that you're about to walk into. It's pretty daunting because you've got inflation, you've got a market that's crazy, you've got Russia invading Ukraine, you've got China doing wild and crazy things, you've got the Canadian economy not knowing what it really wants to do, you've got BC workers that are going on strike, they're not going on strike, maybe going on strike, a lot of uncertainty. But in all that uncertainty, there is opportunity. And it's going to be with people like you that is going to take that opportunity, seize it, and actually do something great for our nation and great for yourself. So next slide. Because what that opportunity is, and what is this tectonic change that's going on right now, is called digitization. And digitization has been accelerated because of COVID. Everybody was talking about it, but COVID has made this a reality when they sent all the workers home. And then we had to work remotely, distributed, and whatnot. And the other thing that is happening now is you've got this thing called AI. And everybody, is trying to hook onto AI, but AI is like a shiny squirrel because AI needs to be fed with something, and that something's called data. And so one of the big questions about AI is where's the data coming from? And they need people like you to go and access the data, then turn that data into something useful for leaders like Jeff and myself and yourselves so they can actually do something with it. And let's talk about leaders and whatnot, and I look at that slide and whatnot, I'm not a military leader. I'm not a private sector leader. I'm something different. I look at myself as a hybrid leader. And each and every one of you is a hybrid leader now, which is a function of our education, training, experience, which makes you ultimately super valuable to companies that are going to be hiring you. And with this digitization going on here, you are at the pointy end of the spear because you will be making companies work. It will be people like you that will access data to take data at speed to allow decision makers to make better informed decisions more so than ever before. It is an exciting time. And this is where I want to thank Coding for Veterans in the university for giving you the new skill sets that adds on top of what you already have in your previous career to start a new chapter in your next career. But it's daunting, and don't worry about it. You are well prepared, and I'm going to talk about that. Next slide. So let me just talk about where you were, where you are, and how about that transition to where you want to go. And let me just use my own experience here. Let me start off by giving you the bottom line up front. it's hard. All right? It's hard for a private and it's hard for a general. Because what you did yesterday is a history lesson. And nobody wants to talk about it unless you want to come to the bar afterwards and I can tell you some war stories about what Jeff said I did back in Afghanistan. Nobody in the private sector cares. The only thing they want to care about today is, are you hitting margin? Are you getting the quarterlies? Are you doing what the business is looking for? That's what's important. But they need people who are experienced and got leadership and all the breadth and depth, which you can't get off the private sector, off the schools, but each and every one of you has it by coming in with what you already have. So be humble, because that's one of the key ingredients that I would say that I've learned from some of the best leaders are ones who are humble. But the other thing too is, and just, is everybody ex-military here? Anybody not no military? Okay, but the one thing about if you're going from the military to the private sector, you got to start talking about me, because in the military, we always talk about us and we. So don't be afraid about talking about yourself, because what's what people want in the private sector? They want to hear about you. What are you bringing to the team that's going to make a difference? So be free about talking about that and do your homework. Next thing is listen. Some of the hardest things to do is to listen and answer the question that was asked. This takes real skill. I spent 31 years in the military in the public sector talking about speaking points and whatnot. I'm now the C4V military analyst. I've had to relearn how to talk. Okay. I actually now answer questions as opposed to evading questions, and actually try to make it understandable for the average Canadian. And that took this general a long time to figure that out. Okay. So don't be afraid to answer questions, because that's when people ask you, they want to hear about it. So listen actively, listen intently, and answer the question that they are asking. And don't be afraid to ask a question or two yourself. All right. Have a conversation. Leadership and about working in the private sector is about having a conversation. Here's the next thing. Interviews. When I was in the military, I was top of the class. I did everything for 31 years. Then I got into the private sector and I started to fail. I would go into interviews and not succeed. It was devastating. I mean, in the military, you're posted. You don't interview. You get given a job and you move into it, and it's yours to lose. But in the private sector, you gotta bid every day to get a job. And it's not what you did yesterday. It's the boss saying, what are you going to do for me today and tomorrow? Because the military are planning experts and they execute really poorly. And the private sector execute every day magnificently and they plan poorly. Because the military goes to war once in a while, and the private sector is in war every day. That's the paradigm difference. And the speed of what's happening there, when you get into the private sector, that stuff happens. So when you go for interviews, don't be worried if you don't get it, because they're moving so fast. Learn from the interview and take lots and lots of interviews. I would just do interviews just for the sake of practicing. But the first couple of times when you fail as a 2-star general, it's shattering. All right. I never failed in my life, but it's not failure. It's what do you do with it? Talks about grit, determination, will, perseverance, resilience. All these things actually mean something is you don't give up. You double down, you go back, you do your homework, you go figure out what didn't work. And sometimes it's not a right fit. I went through a whole process with one company. I got right to the end where they actually bring you into the chair. The chair looks at you, sits down. We're having dinner in some fancy restaurant in Toronto. And he looked at me and said, I love you. I can't hire you. You're going to be bored by 10 o'clock in the next morning. And I looked at it and said, probably 9:30. But, let's just be honest with each other. It's just not going to work because, the culture, the hookup, everything, the job just didn't fit you. So don't be afraid when those types of things happen. You'll find it. And here's the other thing. It took me 3 to 5 years to get my groove into the private sector. And I went through 3 or 4 different jobs. I now working with a family called BMO. Anybody in the military, I'm the J35 for the Defense Community Banking Program. And they talk a completely different language. They talk bank speak. And everybody in the military and from the Strathconas would look at me and go, Dave, you know nothing about bank. And I said, I know. I got young people that know bank stuff. I know people stuff. Okay. So they teach me all the bank stuff. I teach them all the people stuff. And it's a really great marriage that works well. But it took me years to find BMO. And I started off in a whole bunch of other companies. And don't be afraid, because you're going to move around quite a bit until you find that groove and find that place where you're going to feel really comfortable with. And along the way, you just get more and more experience, because you always fall back onto what you know. And there's no music to tell you something bad's about to happen. There's nobody, there's no narrative in the thing to saying it's not going to work out this time. No, you're just going to have to find out for yourself and persevere and get through it. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better team worker when you get there. Don't be afraid. Just lean into it. So the other thing is, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. I hope I never get to the end state. I hope I never get to the summit and the peak, because what am I going to do next? All right. You want to keep on going and keep on learning. And that's why I keep going to work every day, because I love people and they challenge me and I listen to them and I work with them. And I kind of just want to drop down to the bottom there. Any Gen Zs in this room? Get used to it. Gen Z is a completely different person. All right. I sit on the board of OpenText. It's a $6 billion a year company. Okay. 26,000 people. We just did an acquisition where we just, consumed a whale in one bite. It was called Micro Focus. We just consumed a company for the tune of a $6 billion, 13,000 people. And there's thousands of Gen Zs. We just had a conference and we had the Gen Zs up here, because people like me were saying to Gen Zs going, we don't talk the same language, and we don't. They have different expectations than what I have. And we have to figure out how do we work together, because they're going to do all the work and they got to figure out what I want at the board, what they want out of life. Get into it. It's kind of like talking to a Strathcona and a Patricia. I'm a Patricia. We got a Strathcona back there and Andrew. The only thing I used to love about the Strathconas is they always had a heating vessel. I could get a cup of coffee when it was raining. They were dry. I was wet. By working together and talking with each other, you actually start to do great things. And what Gen Zs are doing is they want to be listened to. You got to talk to them. It's about leadership. It's about inclusivity. It's about diversity. Get with them and start to understand, because they're the ones that are going to actually do the work and help you out. Same thing with your boss. The more we understand about each other, the better it gets. And how do you develop that resiliency where you can carry on every day? Take a look around this room. This is your network. You go and you leave this room. Do not leave the people in the room. Take them with you as your network. Go back to if you were whatever you did before you took this program. You fall back onto that network. So when you got a bad day, you pick up the phone, you call Jeff or something like that. He calls me. We go out and have a drink. And we just start to talk to each other so you can actually get through the next day, because you're not quite sure how things are. So resiliency is about communicating. Don't shut down. Open up. Open up and talk to people, because it's hard stuff. If it was easy, everybody be doing it and everyone be an Elon Musk. They're not everybody's an Elon Musk. There's only one of them out there, thank God. But, it is important that we communicate and we have this dialogue and whatnot. So these are the big takeaways that I did in my transition. And I'm still transitioning after 10 years out of the forces as a hybrid leader here. I still tell wild jokes and, funny stuff where everybody wants. Like in the bank, they will not stop calling me general. Okay. I always introduce myself, Dave Fraser. You're the general. Okay. Suck it up, Buttercup. Just get used to it. Okay. I'm the general. That's fine. But I listen to everybody. And it's really important, because it's a sign of respect. And it's also understanding they want to get to know you and you want to get to know them. And the more we can do this, the better you can get. but it takes time. It takes time when you start a new job. Like I had to start dressing myself every day. Before, it was really easy. I put on my uniform and it was great. Now I put my clothes on. My wife looks and said, "You're not walking out the door looking like that." Okay? Get back in here. She buys all the stuff I have, everything I have wearing today. She bought, with the exception of my boots, which I refuse to change my boots because I like my boots and I don't polish them anymore because that's my point. After 30 years in the military, I want to say something different. It's a team effort and whatnot. Next slide. And what's important about that team effort is make sure you keep balance in your life when you're making your transition. And that transition is like a three-legged stool. And I say 3 legs because 2 legs, you can wobble on 2 legs for a while, but after a while, you're going to fall down. Make sure you take care of yourself. Self-being, which means your physical and mental well-being. Get into the gym. Do whatever it is to exercise and relax your brain. That's important. You got to take care of yourself because it's a marathon, not a sprint. And being in the military, I've got to tell you, and even the private sector, there's an awful lot of demands on you as an individual. Whatever you're going to be doing, you got to take care of yourself. But the other thing you got to do is you got to take care of the family at home. So don't ignore your family. Go home, go play with the dog, go play with your partner, go take out your partner, go tell them that they're important because they are important because they're going to keep you going. And then balance off what's going on at work. You got to put in 5 days at work, maybe 3 days is virtual, 2 days is in the office, but you got to balance it all off, and only you and wherever you are will determine what that is. If you don't get it right, you're going to fall down and hit the wall. All right? And I've hit the wall a couple of times. You know what? I'm working on my second marriage because I spent too much time on the work and not enough time on the family. And guess what? It's a common story in the military. You ignore the family, bad things happen. So make sure you got that life balance here because it's important, especially when you're going into the private sector where you're going to be going 100 miles an hour because of digitization. Slide. All right, so let's talk about digitization. All of this is going to be in the book that I'm going to give you at the back of the room here, and it's called The Anticipant Organization. Yeah, an infantry wrote a book. There's lots of pictures, so you know an infantry wrote the book. All right, because nobody in the patricians would know I'd ever write a book. It's my second book, by the way. But this is a book that actually started with my business mentor, Tom Jenkins, who actually created Open Text, and it started off with From the Battlefield to the Boardroom. 2 guys who came out of completely different paradigms. We came to the same conclusion of what does digitization mean to me and whatever the paradigm you're in. 1997, I'm commanding officer of the 2nd Battalion. I had days and weeks to make a decision. 2006, I'm now commander of a brigade in Afghanistan. Okay, 9 nations, 20,000 people. It looked more like a division than it did as a brigade. I used to call it the minute decision. I had to make in a minute a decision of to kill or not kill based on what's coming in off a predator feed and a whole bunch of other stuff. Most of it in the world that you're going to work in. You can't get that wrong. And digitization now is getting to the point where it's even faster than ever before. Slide. Because now we're talking about nanoseconds. That's the speed of which business works. It's the speed of business works. And this is what we created as a definition of what is a nano crisis and how are you, and this is about applicable to what you've just learned today, how are you going to manage the nano crisis in your business? Look what happened to Indigo. They were shut down for weeks because they couldn't figure out what was going on. It's not if it happens, it's when it happens, and how are you going to respond to the nano crisis? Next slide. Because your organization probably looks like it does on the left, but the reality is the world operates on the right as a network. Your competition, the bad guy, operates on the right. You will work in organizations on the left. And how do you deal with that? It's all in the book. I'll give you a hint. It's called Gumby. So let me give you a Gumby story. I'm sitting in Afghanistan one night. I'm sitting on the radio, And as everyone's seen, we were soldiers, we were young, okay. So my signaler comes up. I'm sitting in the middle of the night. Rick Hillier is sitting beside me, former chief of the defense staff. And the signaler says, you got to come. We got a problem. I said, what's the problem? American sergeant, 200 kilometers away from me. He's in a firefight, and about 200 Taliban are going after about 10 American soldiers. So I get to the radio. I'm the guy at the top of the pyramid here. He's the guy at the bottom of the pyramid. And I could hear in the background on a radio frequency that everybody in the brigade can hear. You can hear the pop, pop, pop of the Taliban. You can actually hear them yelling. And you can hear the sergeant going, all right, boys, slow rate of fire. We're going to be here for all night. Got to save the ammunition. Let's just control this. And he's fighting for his life because they want to kill him. So I get on the radio. And I just take that organization you see up there and I just Gumby doll it and I squish it. And I just say, whatever his call sign was, breaker 3-4, this is Aegis 6. You are my main priority tonight. I'm going to stay with you all night. We will stack up everything up until 40,000 feet above you because you're not alone. We're in it together. We're going to make sure you get ammunition. We're going to make sure you get water. We got medevac on standby. We got fighters coming in. We've got Apaches coming in. We've got everything to take care of you. I'm with you. Meanwhile, that whole organization is listening to me tell that sergeant, I'm going to take care of you. And we're in it together. That's how you squish an organization. Private sector does the exact same thing. McCain's had an issue one day when they lost and had a bunch of bad food. The CEO started talking exactly to their people and to the public. That's how you squish an organization to make sure you achieve the effect you want when there's a crisis. And now this is happening in nano speed. So that's the Gumby doll, and it's all in the book, including that story. Slide. And so here's the key to life. All right? I used to ask everybody in the private or public sector one question. You want to write this one down because this is an important one. Who is responding to whom? In Afghanistan, my intelligence guys, when I asked that question, they said, well, the Taliban are responding to us. I said, good, we're winning. They're reacting. Throw more resources at it. In the private sector, it means your competition is now responding to you. Throw more resources at it. Kill the competition. Win. If you are reacting, you are losing. The so what of that is anticipate. Anticipation of future tasks. It's a military paradigm. It works in the private sector because of digitization now. Slide. Because today we have to become an anticipant and not a participant or reacting. You will lose in business if you are reacting. And people like you now are going to have to give the competitive edge to companies to anticipate and operate at machine speed, at scale, time compression, in domains in ways that we've never had to do before. This is now your battle. You are now talking to CEOs because you are the frontline troops in the fight to win market share. Slide. And so the other thing you have to do here is, it's another military parlance, is you got to rehearse all this stuff. Because at machine speed, you can't operate and react. You've got to anticipate it, which means you have to empower your people so they actually know what's going on there, so they don't come back and say, hey, boss, do I have permission to do this or not? If you do that, you're going to lose. So that's the difference what digitization has done to us. Slide. And what are the principles and characteristics of an organization that is winning versus an organization that's not winning? You can read it for yourself, and it's all in the book. This is the difference between success and losing. So you can figure out yourself. I love that one called crowdsourcing. I use Waze all the time to get myself from here to there. I don't look at a map anymore. I just let the machine just tell me, and I trust it. Slide. So the new rules are shown here. And this affects you in the military. We got a couple of people in the back in the military there. Lieutenant and You got your thing. I can't even tell who you are. The rules here fit military and they fit the private sector too. Here's the secret. It's still about people. How many coders do we have here who actually write code? All right. You are the most important person now that I actually, as a general, I used to go and talk to my coders to say, you have to know what's inside my head because you got to write the code that is ethical, diverse, everything. Because if, I get the training, we each get of the ethical training. I still do that at BMO. But if you don't have the code that gets the same ethical training it's revised every year, you're going to lose. Because remember in 2008 when the markets crashed? You know how they stopped the crash? Seriously, they unplugged the machines because they didn't know what was going on. They unplugged the machines and then they went in to look at the code to find out what was happening. And then they found out the mistake that they made in the code. These are the new rules. It's still about people, but now it's about leading machines who are colleagues and talking to coders who perhaps in many cases don't want to talk to people, but they have to be talked to because they are the most important person who's going to write your recipe that's going to make it run. Slide. So fundamentally, let's just wrap this up. You're not alone. You got to trust everybody that's working around you. Okay? And if you don't trust people, and the trust has to start with somebody, and I always used to say when I walked into an organization, the trust starts with me. I'm giving you my explicit and implicit trust. You have to unearn my trust. And in turn, I will earn your trust. That's how I define trust. Give it, and then have people unearn it from you. That's the hardest thing because nobody wants to disappoint the other person standing beside you when you've broken that bond and that trust. It's a powerful tool. But you're not alone because everybody works together on this one. I've done this, and by the way, it's the scariest thing I've ever done. I jumped at 4,000 meters with the French army and got on this airplane. The guy, he said, okay, I'm going to do 4 things with you. I'm going to hook you up on the chest and your butt. And I never got so close to a person in my life, and I didn't want to get that close other than my wife. So he hooked me up, and he punched me in the shoulder. He punched me in the other shoulder. He punched me in the waist and the other waist. And he said, we are now connected. Your life is now in my hands. Okay, we're going to step out of the airplane now in the 4,000 meters in the Pyrenees. Pretty cool thing. And the last thing he said was, breathe. And I went, what? And we jumped out, and I couldn't breathe for about 5 seconds. It was the most scary thing I've ever done. And then I finally got, complaced myself and whatnot. I didn't do anything bad. And we landed. But it taught me an awful lot about trust. And you got to trust people. If you don't trust people, you can't be successful. It's that simple. Slide. So, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. I'm going to say I'm proud of you, what you've done. Thank you for everything you've got. You've got a great future ahead of you. The industry is screaming for people like you. Okay? Screaming. You're not going to want for work. Okay? The problem you're going to have is where do you want to work? Okay? I said this down in Kingston to our signalers and their signal school down there. If I was going to give a recruiting ad, I would put all the signalers out there because that's a really sexy trade because that's doing all the high-tech stuff. All right? And that's what you're doing. You're doing all the high-tech stuff, and you will make the difference between success and failure in a company. Thank you very much. Good luck, and I'll be around to answer any questions and enjoy what you have to say. Thank you.
So again, thank you very much. It feels like I'm back teaching. Everybody's in the back. Nobody wants to be in the front row. I don't understand that. On behalf of PDI and Coding for Veterans, I was going to say David, but I'll say General. Thank you very much for those wise words. And here a small gift of appreciation. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
With that, we're done. Congratulations. You've met the bar. Oh, and there is a bar open over there too. Thanks. Good night.